The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Listen in as your host, Casey Colburn, brings together a perfectly picked panel of guests to discuss hot topics and events within the metaphysical and paranormal field. But don't worry, should the discussions get too heated, our studio switch will sound a cackle to send the cauldron back down. Listen for new episodes of Cauldron Talk with Casey Colburn every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. only on Paranormal Buzz Radio. Welcome to Cauldron Talk. This is Season 3, Episode 4. And today we are joined by Mike and Robert of Midnight Paranormal Society. Today we are talking about Skinwalkers, Shapeshifters, and Windigos. Okay, so welcome to my show, guys. Before we begin, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Robert Suncat, Native American monster hunter / paranormal investigator. I'm here to have some fun and have some casual talk about paranormal.
All right.
All right, my name is Mike Cardenas. I'm the founder and founder and one of the investigators for Midnight Paranormal Society, alongside with Robert and with Adam. I've been into the paranormal investigating the paranormal since 2008. I first got to the paranormal due to my experiences as a child in the 80s, and that's what kind of led me into becoming a paranormal investigator. And now we're here trying to talk all things paranormal. Get out of here. Sorry, my cats.
That's all right. All right, so today we are talking about different lores and how there are similarities in different cultures. For this show, we are specifically exploring native lore and the many types of spiritual entities, like the Skinwalker, Shapeshifter, and the Windigo. So my first question is, why is it taboo to talk about the Windigo and the Skinwalker?
Well, that's an easy question, at least for us, because, we don't want, for us, the superstition beliefs is that if we talk to them, we're bringing them to us. We're going to, get their attention. Simple, yet, very to the point of, keep hush, don't talk about these dark things.
Yeah.
To me, I think I'm on the other side of the fence. I don't know if it's, to me, and it's just my opinion, I don't know if it's taboo or not, but I feel like it's a good thing to talk about these things because that's the only way people are gonna know about it, right? It's like, I feel like, and I know there's no wrong answers, right? But I feel like the more you talk about them, I know in certain situations when you talk about certain things, it gives energy and it gives power to these things. But I feel like, if no one knows about them, it's like, I think to me, I want to know about these things. So if it's a taboo thing, it's like kind of like, oh no, you know what? You shouldn't be talking about this. I don't know, man. To me, I'm more for wanting to talk about it, wanting to spread the word because there's things out there that people don't even know exist. So for me, I don't really see the taboo in it, I guess. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, for my people, for the Senecas, it's also taboo to talk about certain things. We don't really have like the Skinwalker up here.
Right.
Though, who's to say they can't travel? There's that theory.
Yeah.
In our belief system, we don't have one. We do have shapeshifters, but they're completely different. They're not like this evil entity like a Skinwalker is.
Right.
They were mischievous.
Yeah. Well, they come in all forms, so they're kind of like they have their own will type of thing. So it's just kind of like you and I, except for they just come in all different types of shapes, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, I try to make the point like the spirit realm is like the animal kingdom. There's so many different varieties and types of species of spirit out there. Like there could be millions that we don't know about yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's like meeting someone who says they only believe in dogs and cats as the only animals that exist when we all know better. There's like so many different species out there and different kinds.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun. Without a doubt, it's fun.
So what do you think is the difference between the two?
Between a skinwalker and a shapeshifter?
Yeah.
All right. So
in your opinion.
So a skinwalker is somebody who I believe the lore is where they actually have to take that form by like killing or in means like that. Typically it's supposed to be like a shaman or a medicine man. That's kind of
Yes.
Some places believe that it's a medicine man who's been corrupted and turned, but some also believe that it's like a form of enlightenment. I'm not sure which tribes believe in which. I think the general consensus though is that it's the evil version, the negative version, something to stay away from. They typically do prey more on like a young female because they're more susceptible to that type of thing. And that's why like you'll hear like the screaming and things like that with them.
Yeah, the voice mimicry, all that stuff.
Yeah. And then the shapeshifter is somebody who like, have you seen in like the movies where like the person is about to die or whatever, so they turn into something real quick to,
right.
It's out of necessity. That's something that they already had in them and they just kind of utilized.
They unleashed it.
Yeah. So it's not evil. So they can be evil. It's again what that individual wants to do. It's just not all of them.
Right.
Did I answer that correctly? I think.
Oh no, that's that. I'm just curious. I know everybody has like I guess different thoughts on it, and I just always wondered. That's cool.
But it's good. Yeah, it's good to learn about other people's culture, lore.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. So shapeshifting actually is one of the things that I've been told quite a few times by multiple mediums, varying, levels regarding respect. And they've told me that I have this ability to shapeshift. I take it more as like a metaphorical type of shapeshifting than like I'm going to eventually turn into a hawk and like, there I go.
Spiritual shapeshifting.
Yeah. Now in my dreams, I do shapeshift and I can do that at will, but the dream world is like my playground. So.
So let me ask you this: if let's say you, Robert, or both you guys, or all three of you, if you had the ability to shapeshift, right, and let's just say that you shapeshift, and who knows what the animal you turn into. I mean, it could be a rat, it could be whatever. I guess just happens if you have no control of that part. Would you be willing? Because you know how, for example, not to get off the question, right? But you know how sometimes people are more, they got to see it to believe it, right? I mean, you could talk about it all day, but they're like, did you record this? Did you, do you have proof of it? Would you be willing to go in front of people and say, look, it's a real thing and I'm going to show you, and then start and shapeshift in front of them? Would you do it?
No.
Yeah, because it's not exactly our secret to share.
Yeah.
It's a tribe's secret.
And the way humans are, like, I pray that we don't ever catch Bigfoot. Like, because people are just so cruel. They're not going to understand. And they're going to, if they are curious about it and they're not running away, they're going to try to either harm us or dissect us. So no, I wouldn't. So some things are just supposed to be sacred. Some things you're not really even supposed to question. And that's kind of how we believe. I don't know if the Apaches are the same way, Robert, but that's just kind of how we are. Like, some things are just not said but understood.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yes.
That's interesting.
yeah, the one common thing with natives is that we're very like final, like this is it. We don't talk about it anymore. You don't need to know anything past this point. This is just what it is. You'll find out when you're ready or if you're meant to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's all about the timing. Perfect. You
Yeah.
know, like what do you call it? The tribe learned our lesson 1,000 years ago or so. You know,
Mhm.
we know what we're dealing with. So the knowledge was passed down. So we know exactly what to do and not do when it comes to those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So we know what we're talking about. So you gotta listen to your elders.
Mm-hmm.
That's,
That kind of leads me to my next question, though. So besides not talking about them, what other things can you do to prevent them from, being around you or to ward them off?
Let's see, hold on. I have my book
Mhm.
real quick. Because with me, I just use basic protection. You know, like not dream catchers, obviously, because that's more pop culture stuff for
Mhm.
tourists. But like you obviously get blessed relics. You know, like from the medicine man, stuff like that. That
Mhm.
helps keep them away. You don't talk to them, obviously. You don't talk about them. But there's like a whole variety you can use, like, and not even like it doesn't have to be native either. As long as it's some form of protection, it should work to keep them, at bay. The shapeshifters, the skinwalkers.
Mhm.
and here's the thing, and I don't know if this is the same thing or not, right? And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm all about learning. In the Hispanic community culture, right? In the Mexican culture, Hispanic, one of the things that people talk about is lechuza, right? Lechuza is an owl, but
The owl witch.
they say it's a witch, right? Who transforms into an owl. And whenever you see this owl comes to your home or wherever you're at, it's like a sign of things to come. Like it's like, imagine someone comes to a witch, says, "Hey, I want you to kill this person, or I want you to harm this person." So the witch transforms to the owl, flies to find the person or this bird, and finds them and does harm. So would you consider that a shapeshifter, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in the Hispanic community, again, one of the things they do to ward off this lechuza or this witch, and I don't know if the same, of course, I don't think it's the same with every single thing of that, but with this specifically, when I was growing up, I always heard family or elder people in the community always talking about some people would use profanity to make you leave, or they said they would get a towel, and if you make a knot when it's around, it's like you're choking it and then it will leave because suffocation. And then like there's just different things that to get rid of it, because whenever you saw this thing, it was never meant like, hey, here comes the owl for peace, right? It's always for something bad. So they never, how I don't know if you heard the saying, but you can't ward off evil with evil. So they, even though they didn't see this evil, but they would use profanity, or they would just shout, or even some people would sing. Like I saw the other day a video, and it was supposed to be a comedic video, but nonetheless, it was still something to use to ward off. There was a church, and there was they were having like their daily mass, right? And an owl flew in to the church, and it was a Spanish church, right? So they all automatically saw, okay, here's a lechuza, here's a witch coming to do bad. So they're singing praises to God to this owl to scare it away. And in the video, the owl was like kind of like dancing, like getting down to the music, and I thought it was funny. But they were using it to try to scare it off, and the owl was just there, like, imagine sitting in place and he's just dancing side to side. Like I was like, what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but at least in the Hispanic community, that's their method to trying to get rid of that evil.
Yeah, it's very common. So some belief systems, like they'll even use bells and things like that to get rid of them. I mean, some Native American tribes too will use like drums, or will use the rattles, different things like that to help get rid of it. Something about loud noises and things like that. I don't know if it just scares them or if it confuses them or what happens. but it's a very common tool to driving out whatever it is.
Yeah, like I said, there's varieties of ways. You don't need to just do medicine man stuff to lure that stuff away. Like, as long as it's protection of some sort, it'll work.
The biggest thing when it comes to these types of things is like the intention. So if you're intending for it to make it go away, there's a good possibility, as long as your intention is strong, you don't have any doubt that's corrupting it, that it'll work.
Yeah, you're manifesting that.
So, but yeah, I would consider that. I mean, it could also maybe fall under a skinwalker, though I don't know too much about what constitutes a skinwalker. So, but it would definitely be a shapeshifter.
On a side note, I was talking to my mom this past on New Year's Eve. We were talking, and I've always I kind of knew growing up that like my great grandfather, he was born in Mexico, and as you know, his family. I mean, I would have to find out from one of my aunts, because she has all the information from my great grandfather, but he's Native American too, part Native American, and I don't know what part. I got to ask her that, but I was like, well, shoot, since he's Native American and also he's from Mexico, then that means technically, that comes down to us, right? And I've also found out that my grandfather, which is my mom's dad, he lived in Oklahoma, and he lived in, I think it's called Altos or something like that, Oklahoma. And his family from there, they're all Native American, and of course Native American / Hispanics, right? But one of my aunts who's from there, she now lives in a reservation there, and she did away with her birth name, and she has her, I guess, the name that she's been given, or however that works. And so now she no longer goes by her name from birth. And I was like, holy smokes. I'm like, when you see her, I mean, I was like, holy crap, like, I didn't know. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So now I found out that, again, that falls under me too. So what I want to do is I want to try to figure out, how much of both sides I am, because that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know.
Ancestry.
Yeah. So I want to find out, that way I know exactly what I fall under.
Yeah. But I understand the naming thing. Like with me, Suncat, that's not a nickname. That's my actual tribal name given to me in the naming ceremony.
Yeah. We've here. So my great grandmother, her last name was Jimerson. So that's the name that we were given. I don't know as far back as what it would have been. I don't know that we would have had a last name. Last names weren't something that we had. That's a colonizer.
Okay, you can say it.
That's a colonizer.
Yeah, you can say it, don't worry.
So it's not really something that we did. It's just something that is now. So they're government names. But I mean, her name wouldn't have been Cynthia. It would have been something else. But
yeah,
I don't know what that would have been either. My grandpa, he did have a native name, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what it was. And they do change also. So like a good example is Pocahontas. Her name was Matoka, and then it went to Pocahontas afterwards, which is like the playful one or something like that. And so it changes over time, and then her colonizer given name, or her government given name, was Rebecca. So she had at least 3 names that we know of.
Wow.
Yeah, with me, I just do Robert or Suncat. I respond to either or, just out of habit now. So I just put both names.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's all good.
Yeah, I want to find out for sure though, because I mean that's interesting to know. You know what I mean? That you're.
Well, yeah, for you and Jeanette too, because that's some good stuff.
Well, yeah, for all of us, from all my siblings, because like I said, when I saw my aunt, because I mean it's my aunt, but it's my mom's, I guess, she's more closer to her because it was my you know, it's her
On your
aunt
mom's side
growing
of the
up.
family.
Yeah, and so, you know, I knew of them, but when I saw the picture of my aunt from that side, from Oklahoma, do you see her, man? And she looks like hardcore, you know, like a Native American woman. Like she don't look like she's Hispanic in any way, Mexican in any way.
She
And
got
I was
involved
like,
fully in the community,
holy
the tribal
smokes,
community.
man. Like even from the way she dresses, like, I mean, she did it. Now she changed everything. I was like,
Well, that's good though. She
wow.
embraced her bloodline, her native
So
bloodline at least.
now that I know that we have that on both sides, it's like I'm interested in finding out,
Yeah,
you know,
find out all your
where
ancestry.
Mhm.
where I fall under all that stuff.
You might even be more than just Hispanic and native. Who knows?
Mhm.
That'd be cool
Right.
though.
Yeah.
See, I'm part
Like
Canadian, guys.
when I first met you on Facebook, Mike, remember I thought that you had native in you,
Right.
so I could see it.
I'm like, man,
Ironically, yeah, funny story. When I first met Mike, I thought he was a white guy at first. It was so funny.
Mhm.
Kind of the opposite effect for me.
Mhm. You know, he looks like he could be a cousin, you know, like it. I don't know.
Yeah, not
So-
full related, but not full blood, but you know, pretty good. A pretty good amount, at least half.
So to get back to our topic, though.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. So we talked about what we can do to try to prevent them. Some of the things that I would use if I did want to stick to native would be white sage. That's going to be my go-to for anything that's a negative entity, but I'd also utilize cedar. And then I would always end that ceremony with, because that's what it's going to be. It's a ceremony. It's not going to be just grab a smudge stick and go. But I would end it with using tobacco and sweetgrass to bring in the positive spirits.
Right.
All natural elements.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that just for all of our listeners in case they're like feeling left out of the loop there a little bit, because we know what we're talking about, but they may not.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're like, and for those who aren't comfortable doing that kind of thing, you know, there's different methods.
Mhm.
And not just for like, if you're not comfortable with native stuff, like if you're allergic to white sage or something, there's different methods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can use like Florida water would work. It's also called Hoyt's cologne. That'll work. That's a very powerful thing too. You see that more in like the hoodoo tradition. But it's
witch balls,
fantastic stuff.
What else?
Smells great too. Just don't drink it.
Yes, please don't. Black tar water.
Mm-hmm.
But that stuff smells really bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would try the Hoyts first.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then, now that we've talked about that, so we've got our sage, we've got our Hoyt's cologne. We're ready just in case something happens. But how do we know that they're around us?
Those are usually like, well, from what I heard, the stories and books I read, it's subtle signs at first, and then it kind of escalates. Like with skinwalkers, for example, like you'll see like maybe a out of place animal that's acting weird, or you'll find footprints, and then as you're following the footprints, the animal footprints, they kind of turn into human tracks as they walk further away from your property. And then also, sometimes like you'll be like a really weird creature, like a kind of animal that kind of moves weird or that's a little bit off. And then as you follow it or try to chase it, it disappears usually.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you turn into a bug or something, because I know they can shapeshift. From what I heard, they can shapeshift from anything from a bug to like a giant wolf if they have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know too. A lot of people report like the stenches that they put off, and like the screaming and that type of thing. Mike, do you have anything?
And I think. Sorry about that, but I was going to say, I think I remember like a few years ago there was a TV show about like police on the native reservation, like a cop show, and they dealt with like a supposed skinwalker, and they had the camera crew follow them into this little mountain area. There was this weird goat-looking thing, and then it jumped behind a rock, and then it disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they said it's probably a skinwalker and their superstition beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Mike,
Well,
go ahead.
what's it to answer or to add to what you guys are saying about when they're around, correct?
Yes.
I saw a video and it comes back to that because I don't think I've ever had an experience as far as, something happening in front of me, at least that I know of. Maybe it could have, I just didn't know. But I saw a video, and I know it's a video, right? So you can only, take it for what it's worth, right? Face value. But there was this, I don't know if it was a police officer or it was just like some guy recording, and down the hill or down the ravine, there was a man walking, and the man shouts out to the guy, like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, and when the guy was saying what's up to the cameraman or to the guy holding the camera, he was like, he had broken English. Like, he wasn't talking like the way you and I are talking. Like, he had not even an accent. It was just like, when someone doesn't know how to speak English, but you don't know, I guess, what the origin of their, where they're from.
Struggling.
Right.
Struggling to talk like human.
Right. And all of a sudden this thing starts like howling at the man and charging towards him. And the guy just books it. Again, I don't know if it was real or not, but I saw it and I was like, wow, man. So, I don't know if that's one of the things that really in actuality happens. But that was really interesting to see, though,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's universal. Something that weird charges at you, you run.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like, I'm out of here, Lucky Charms.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've always been intrigued by what's it called? Skinwalker Ranch. I've always been intrigued
Yes.
by there because for the energy. I know that energy is just very viable. Like, I know it. But is it worth the possible danger? Probably not. What do you guys think? Because speaking of Skinwalker Ranch, we've had quite a few paranormal shows that have gone there and attempted to communicate with them. What do you guys think about that?
Well, I love Skinwalker Ranch. Just the idea of going there.
Yeah, that's
Not so much the UFO, because I don't want to get abducted.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more focused on the native stuff, the monsters that are there.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's a good thing? Because talking about them can give them power. So do you think going there and trying to communicate with them also does that? Or is it maybe not?
It depends on what their intention is when going to investigate these investigators that go there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen the show, the Skinwalker Ranch show,
Mm-hmm.
they do focus on the monsters and ghosts, but they mainly do the UFO stuff. So their attention kind of focuses on that and not really the creatures. So it's kind of taking away their power by taking the focus off them and onto something else.
Okay.
So I have a question, right? I know you already have your question, but it's just something that came to mind right now, right? So you know how one thing what was brought up earlier that when these certain tribes or the people with the Native American background, whenever there's they don't like talking about or shedding light to certain things because they want to keep it sacred or private, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I asked, if you had the ability to transform or shapeshift, what'd you do to show people that it's real? And you said no, right? You want to keep it, kind of hush hush.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe this will make sense to what I'm about to ask. So let's say with Skinwalker Ranch in this question you're bringing up, with you, Robert, being Native American, or both of you guys being Native American, do you think because I'm just assuming here that Skinwalkers or the shapeshifters, they fall under that belief of the Native Americans, right? Is that correct, or is that wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my question is, do you think, let's say if Ronnie, for example, the white guy, went to go investigate and try to communicate versus one of you two going to investigate, you think that this thing, if there are creatures out there that are shape-shifting, do you think you'll be more open to communicating with Ronnie, who's not Native American, versus one of you guys who is Native American? You think that there would be more chance of you communicating versus Ronnie, or what do you think about that?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So it's like what we talked about earlier. Remember, we talked about how we before the show started, we talked about how some people like build their houses on these sacred burial grounds from us natives. Like we know if we go on there, the spirits won't really harm us, but they'll harm the ones who are building, the intruders on the land.
Yeah,
but I think it's like 50-50.
Yeah,
Depends on what the skinwalker or the creature wants to do.
Yeah, I think, it's a hard one because again, it's going to come down to, are you believing that the skinwalker was like they made themselves that way out of, something evil, because usually they have to murder whatever it is they're going to turn into.
A family member usually.
Or do you think that it's a medicine man that was enlightened? It's going to come down to what your I guess belief preferences there, and the entity's actual intent. I mean, I wouldn't equate them 100% to demons, but like demons, they're going to try to talk to you to get you to do what they want.
Manipulate you.
Specifically younger girls. So
yeah. Sorry, Ronnie.
So I don't think most natives are going to want to talk to them.
Right.
Yeah, I don't
probably.
Yeah.
They're gonna go for the easy victims, the ones that don't know, not to talk to them.
So, I mean,
I understand what you're saying.
If I got one in a cage and it was talking to me,
yeah, careful of that silver tongue it has.
Yeah, like it's gonna be a hard thing. Like it's really not something that people should mess with. And I think knowing that is already gonna put doubt in our intention. This is something we shouldn't be doing. But if you do get a strong enough like medicine man that is going to come in and talk to them and get them to move on, it's definitely possible. I mean, that's usually what happens anyways, but that's somebody who is
the Vanishing Ceremony.
Yeah, they're pretty grounded in what they do. It's not like somebody who's just started on their journey with it.
Yeah, they went through the whole years of learning.
Like up here we have the Wendigo. It's not quite a Seneca thing, but we're close enough to it.
Yeah.
And I would just run and hope my feet go faster than it can move. That's my goal. Push my husband down. No, I'm just kidding.
Ha.
But yes, there's just some things that you're just not supposed to try to deal with. Growing up, if we had something that was going on, like we have gahais up here, and I had an issue with a gahai when I was growing up, and my mom would just tell me you have to ignore it. Just ignore it. Don't talk about it. Don't anything. Don't think about it. You start thinking about it, think about something else. And that was to get rid of its power away from me. And, if it needed anything further, then that's when we got out the sage and we did our protection blocks and things like that. But that's just kind of how we handle things. It's not something you go out of your way to deal with, like us investigators do.
Right.
Speaking of Windigos, I just want to put this out there. I know pop culture has the Wendigo, with the giant antlers, but in reality, as that's just pop culture. They put that, for decorative stuff. Real Wendigos do not grow antlers like that.
Yeah, we do have.
They're more like those very zombie humanish, very skinny, icy human zombies. They eat everything.
We do have up here, we do have the deer people, and we do have not a deer, I guess is what people are calling them, which is just another shapeshifter. We do have those up here. The deer people are very interesting. We see those more up, we call it Gahai Hill, or it's called Witch's Walk. and that's a very common sighting up there. So it almost kind of reminds me of Pan, which is kind of interesting for that location because it is called Witches Walk, and we didn't have a thing called witches, like, so
Yeah.
there had
Settlers
to
named that.
yeah, it had to have been some sort of pagan thing that had come into there, and maybe he's just decided, hey, this is pretty cool, I'll stay here. I don't know that it is actually Pan, but that's what I imagine.
One of the many
Right.
pan creatures, pan breeds, I guess you can call them that.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So we've talked a little bit now about all of these different creatures, the Skinwalker, the Shapeshifter, and the Wendigo. Let's hear about you guys. So how did you guys get started?
Mike can go first.
All right, I guess I'll go first. Well, for those who don't know, like I mentioned in the beginning of the show, I got into the paranormal field, or was interested in the paranormal because of what happened to me as a kid. When I was a kid, this was like late 80s, going to the 90s. Try to keep it short, but my mom and I, we were living in this apartment here in San Antonio. And when I was growing up, there was a point where my mom, man, she's very social, man. Like if you were ever to kind of be around us or around my mom, everywhere she goes, people know her, man. Like, and they call out to her, and I'm like, dude, how do you know so many people? Well, anyways, she has a friend who to this day is still friends with. At that time, she had reached out to my mom and asked if at our apartment complex, if we can have her son's birthday party in our apartment. Mind you, we lived all in the same apartment complex. They lived across from us, and it was like a cookie cutter apartments, right? So if you lived in a 2-story apartment, they were all the same. There was nothing different. If you lived on the one level, in the same apartment complex, but you lived in the one level, they were all the same.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, and low key, what she really wanted was my mom to help her cook the food for the party. That's just, everybody came to my mom. Like if you were ever around and there's a family gathering or something, they'll say, Joanne, can you come help cook food? Like, everyone knows my mom's cooking, so she'd always volunteer, or they'd ask her. So anyways, that was the real reason behind it. So we're in the apartment complex, my mom's cooking, she agreed to it. The party's kicking off. I'm this small kid, and the birthday boy, who now as an adult, he ended up passing away. But as a teenager at the time, and I was a small kid, he and his friend walked in, and he had this thing under his armpit, like in his arm, under his arm, and he's walking in, and they're laughing, and without knowing, it ended up being the Ouija board. Excuse me, sorry. And I had no idea what the hell that was, and so they take it out, they're playing with it, and they're laughing and whatever, and I had to use the restroom. So for those who don't know, in that apartment complex, the restroom was on the second floor. So you had to go to the stairway, flip the switch for the light, walk up to the second floor, and there's a restroom in the hallway. So I turn the light on, I'm walking halfway up, and the light turns off above me. I look down to see if someone shut it off, and there's nobody there. So I go to the second, I reach the top floor, and I look to the left, it's my room, and on the right is my mom's room, and then directly in front of me is a restroom. I look to the left, and as a kid, I was given, a family heirloom, or this, not even an heirloom. It was just like this like those old school chair desk combo. They're stuck to each other, like old school, like all steel or metal with wood, and it had like a little cubby underneath where you sit as a cubby underneath. And I was a chubby kid, so I couldn't fit in the desk, because it was meant for real small, little petite kids, And I see this full grown man sitting in the desk or on the desk, and I'm like, wait a second, like and my mom like, how is this full grown, tall, this big guy in the desk, and now me and this kid, I can't fit in the desk. And so I use the restroom, I come out, and now I'm facing the stairway, and my room's to the right now. I look, and when I walk to the stairs, I'm just gonna kind of like walk really down the stair, fast down the stairs. I put my foot to the step, and it made like a sound. And I turned to look at that guy, and it's like he looked towards whatever the sound was. Like it's not like he was looking at me. Just, I guess he heard the sound, and he turned to look. And he looked and he turned back to the window. And I rushed down the stairs. And I guess my mom found out about the Ouija board. So my mom went to full blown like West Side, like Hispanic, crazy Mexican woman, like dropping bombs on people. Get the F out of here. And I don't want that in my apartment. Get out of here. So she stopped the party, kicked everybody out, sent them with their food and with the party, and they left. And as she was locking the door, my mom turns and looks at me, and I said, "Your friend's upstairs." She says, "Friend?" And the light from the stairway still turned off. She's power walking up the stairs. I'm right behind her. She reaches the top floor, goes to my room. There's nobody there. She looks. I'd actually backtrack a little bit before we reach the top of the stairs. The light above us that was off turns right back on by itself. And we pause. We look down. There's nobody there. So we go upstairs. There's no one there. My mom looks around the whole apartment just to make sure no one's trying to hide in the apartment. Nobody's there. So without even knowing, that was my first experience. And shortly after that, because they played the Ouija board, things happen to us on a daily basis, and it was never the same occurrence. It was always something different, always, and that, and of course more things happened through my life, but that was the initial thing that happened. And that's what really made me, question why us. Out of all the people it could have happened to, why us? Not that I wish it would have happened to anybody else, but why us? Was it bad luck? Was it wrong place, the wrong time? I mean, what was it? And so that kind of intrigued me and made me, I guess, start following that path and trying to, go down that rabbit hole and try to get answers. So that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
Yep. For me, it's not. My situation was more education based of why I started this. Because with me, it's embarrassing, but like until I was 14 years old, I don't know if it was just coincidences that, I believe that, everything from Bigfoot, ghosts, aliens, etc., already was discovered and existed already. And, I believed that until I was 14, whenever I would watch TV as a kid, I might see like a Bigfoot documentary. I thought that was just a boring nature documentary, so I just changed channels to cartoons, etc. It wasn't until I was in school, I overheard some kids talking about Bigfoot and how they can, make money off it if one was ever captured alive or something. And I thought that doesn't make sense. They should just go to a zoo or something and see one. And then that's when I talked to them. I didn't know these kids, but I talked to them, and that's when they basically, what's the right word I'm looking for? They basically have just spilled the beans on everything, Let me know, like, and I was 14, a teenage mind. Like, I did not expect that. I didn't believe them, obviously, at first. I even talked to my teacher after class, and the teacher basically confirmed the same thing. And I was in shock. When I went home, I had to triple check. I talked to my mom about that, and she basically said the same thing, and that shook me, like messed me up really, really bad mentally, because I didn't know what to believe back then. It was simple stuff, but that's when I started my research. I started with very simple stuff, animal books. This is before I computers and phones that I could afford, so I had to do old school, go to libraries, buy used books, and I went down the line, what's a real animal, what's not discovered, watched lots of TV about it. But for me, it was personal. It's very, very personal, because I lost a lot of my childhood because of that stuff. And so I made it one of my missions, to open the floodgates and, prove all these things exist. I want to do that so badly. But aside from that, my first paranormal experiences, like after I did my research, looking back on them now in my life, like we talked about shapeshifters earlier, I have two main ones that people know about already, because I always talk about them. I had an encounter with a changeling. Now, this is when I was a kid. I don't know how old I was. I just remember playing with toys in the back room of my house. It was my grandma's house, but we were living there. My mom was out, and my sister was babysitting me. And I heard my mom's voice call my name, And when I turned around real quick, I did it really, really fast. I saw my mom's head on top of a very skinny, like puppet-like body, but it was my size as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just in the corner, it was grabbing the corner, just smiled at me real quick. I ran past it. I went to go get my sister, and went to the back room. It was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back on that now, after I did my research on the paranormal stuff, I realized that was a changeling I encountered back then.
Mm-hmm.
And another one that happened was a Men in Black encounter. Now that one I had my sister help me with, because I was in the living room watching TV, and I heard the knocking on the door. I looked out the window. There was this black car and these tall, classic looking Men in Black guys, all in black, wearing a hat, stuff like that. Very weird looking, ominous. But when I opened the door, because I was a kid, I didn't know any better, there was this very nice looking old man, very sweet. He wore black, but he was very, very sweet, very gentle voice. And he wanted to talk to my grandma and them. And then I went to go get my sister, and she talked to them. I remember her talking to them. I don't remember what they were talking about because she had the door open, but I went back to watching TV. And then after, she closed the door on them, I said, "What was that about?" She said she doesn't want to talk about it. And then, but the weird thing is, the first year I joined this team in 2019, I told the story, and my sister read the bio I put, and I asked her, what did you guys talk about? I've been meaning to ask you for all these years. What was it you guys talked about? And she said she cannot remember. She remembered everything else up to that point, and then the time, she can't remember even seeing them or even opening the door. She remembers going to the door
Mm-hmm.
and then walking away from the door after she closed the door on them. But she cannot remember even encountering those people or even talking to them.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. And then my friend said that was probably a Men in Black experience. And why I remember it and she doesn't, I don't know. But then my friend made jokes, they're watching you, Robert. So you got to be careful. There's something about you they want. They're looking at you for something.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, like I said, my main goal is to just, make the paranormal world part of the regular world, like I once thought it was. Get back a piece of my lost childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would love to live in that kind of world where we can see a Bigfoot just walking through a random yard, and it'll be like a deer walking. Just fun stuff. Have a great world like that. That's my goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would definitely be interesting to be able to just be more outward about it, when you're talking to people about things, because it is still all, there's this stigma about it, you get laughed at or in my case, a lot of people just get very intrigued. But so it'd be nice to just be able to have just a casual conversation, but besides just with people in the paranormal field. So, and just have it be a normal thing. Because really, at this point, we're building all this evidence. Eventually, it's no longer going to be paranormal. It's all going to be normal.
I know. It's going to be great, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So I did want to take note of a couple of things. So, Mike, when you were telling your story, you had mentioned your mother's reaction to, the Ouija board. And I wanted to, because part of today's topic is to show how things are very similar in different cultures. Well, it's also very taboo for Native Americans, so my mom would react the exact same way to a Ouija board coming in the house.
Right.
She might even go immediately into saying a prayer to the creator, and followed by smudging the whole house. So I just want to kind of just show that there is such similarities in cultures regarding the paranormal and different things. So like with you and the owl, and then us with shapeshifters or skinwalkers, it's all very similar. And then another thing that I wanted to note too, you had mentioned, Robert, in your story just now about changelings, which is essentially another shapeshifter,
Exactly. But not a human one.
Yeah, a spirit shapeshifter. So you also hear them be called mimics.
Yes.
So they're, again, as another connection, they're all of these cultures, we all have very similar things. We just call them all different things. So,
because I called it a mimic a few times in some stories. I just go back and forth, changeling or mimic, because it's the same ability.
Yeah, they're basically the same thing. I'm sure there's in each lore, there's a little bit something different that makes them unique to each culture, but it's basically, if we were all talking, we would know and understand what we're talking about. So,
because I know, like I think it's Irish folklore, a changeling is a fairy, a fairy that replaced a baby. When the newborn babies, how in their folklore, a fairy would come take a baby and replace it with one of their own, and the fairy would take the form of the baby for a while, and then they would come and switch places back with the baby. But the baby, the human baby, would have the ability to see the fairy world and spirit world and all that stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, there were actually, before the like Salem witch hunts and all that, all that went on, there was a fairy witch hunt, and basically if a man said, "This isn't my wife anymore, this is a fairy," dead. So fairies aren't in actual lore, like from like Welsh lore, they're not actually like Tinkerbell at all.
No.
So
they're something different.
So actually, if you don't mind me saying something just for a moment, I want not to move on from the subject or by any means. I just wanted to share two things, if you don't mind. The first thing I want to share was, and I want to ask you both this question and kind of touch base on it just for a moment, is spirit animals, right? I know, and you've seen in movies and you hear people talk about it in the Native American community and stuff. About spirit animals, right? So I'm not sure how that works, right? But here's a quick story, and I'll keep it as brief as I can. When I was a teenager, this had to have been like 98. I forget how old I was. I was probably maybe like 12, 13 years old, I forget. And I remember, this is here in San Antonio, on the west side of town. And I'm in this part of the neighborhood that's really, really bad. And I was visiting an ex-girlfriend of mine. It was more so her brother, who was my friend in school, but I was with her, for a little bit. But I was visiting him, and I was talking to them both. And it got to the point where, time flies when you're having fun. And by the time you knew it, this was before I had the cell phone or before I had vehicles. I was a teenager, and it was about midnight or so, or maybe like 1 a.m. And I'm like, holy smokes, like I got to walk home across, from the point where I was at. I mean, the walk it felt like it was more than 30 minutes, but it really wasn't. I was just scared. But anyways, I'm walking in that part of town where I was at. It was known for like, gangs and people getting shot and stabbed and beat up and all kinds of different things. And on top of that, there's like always, dogs are loose and they can bite you any moment. And so I was walking and I'm praying. I'm just praying, right? Like, man, God, let me make it home safely. Don't let some car just roll up, see me, think I'm this gang member, and they try shooting me or jumping me. Like, let me just make it home safely. I have no business being out this late. And all of a sudden, like, as soon as I'm done praying, man, I don't know if it was an angel in disguise, or I don't know if it was a spirit animal. I don't know what it was. But as I'm walking, this little white dog came out of nowhere. I mean, I don't know where the hell it came out of. Imagine, how can I describe the dog? It's like, it was like a furry dog. It was just like this little white dog came out of nowhere, and he was like on the opposite side of the street of me. It's like if he had been walking me the whole time, but he was never there. And then he comes towards me, and he's just walking alongside me, and I'm walking, and I'm focusing. Like, my focus goes from this crazy atmosphere surroundings to this little white dog. And he seemed like not like a full adult dog. He seemed like maybe like between a puppy and kind of getting there. And he's walking with me, and he's just like, his tail's wagging, and I'm looking at him, and I'm walking, and I finally reach a point where I'm out of that dangerous part of the neighborhood. Getting closer to my house, and I'm right here, by this university here in San Antonio called St. Mary's University. I'm like right by there already. And I'm like, okay, I'm like a few blocks down to my house. And as I'm walking, mind you, the whole time I had my eyes on the dog the whole time. I mean, that dog was with me from when I first left till almost to my house. And then as I'm looking at him, I literally looked up for a second and I looked back at him and was not there. And I was like, holy smokes. Like, and I even stopped to look around, like, where could his dog have gone? Did he, like, for that split second, he just kind of like dash off somewhere and he's going to come back? Like, I didn't see, I never saw that dog again.
Mm-hmm.
So, I always wondered, was it like some kind of spirit animal protecting me? Was it an angel in disguise? I don't know. But I just brought that up because I want to know if you guys have ever had a moment like that or experience.
Sky's the limit for that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's very possible it was. So, okay, there's a spirit animal which has no like Native American spiritual meaning behind it. It's just
right.
Ghost of an
The
animal.
ghost of animal, yeah.
Which I'm kind of leaning towards that one for your experience there. Because like, so spirit animals, when it comes to Native American stuff, is you don't get to choose what one it is. Like some people think, oh yeah,
you have one for the rest of your life, but no.
Yeah. And you'll have multiple throughout your life, depending on what your needs are. It's kind of like a spirit guide. It's just like the animal version. They're the manifestation is of that. Yeah. So, if you need courage, like sometimes you get sent the bear for courage. So he'll give you, courage for something, even if it's just temporary. He'll come help you, or et cetera, stuff like that. That's what I was taught. And then there's also like our totems, and our clans. So my clan is Wolf Clan, so I will always have that power behind me. Okay. So they mean different things. You don't get to pick and choose which one necessarily is. Some people will say, like if you see hawk a lot, like you're seeing a lot of hawks, and it's like, oh my God, I don't know, I haven't seen one in forever, and now bam, 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 they're everywhere. Right. That can be an indication that you're needing help with hawk, or maybe there's something with that energy that you need to work with. But it can also just be it's
your migration pattern.
Yeah,
they're migrating.
There's a lot of different things. For me, hawk is something that is very stable. It has been stable in my life. I see them in my dreams. They help me. I get messages from them. The most recent message that I had was that my grandpa was going to pass. There's different things with them. So, they tend to be more just the spiritual meanings and energies behind them. Right. Whereas the ghosts of animals, like I have my dog Cola with me still. He's not a spirit guide, but he is a protector.
Okay. They'll still have those same protective habits.
Yeah.
They'll still keep you safe even after they pass.
So it's quite possible that that dog was a ghost and was there for you. So it could have also been a shapeshifter.
Or an angel, like you said.
Mm-hmm. So
the sky's the limit.
Yeah. So answer it for you.
Yeah. So the second thing I want to talk about, again, briefly is, when I mentioned about how we experienced the thing with the Ouija board, well, one of the things that ended up happening later on during that time period was, we were experiencing some pretty rough things, right? And of course, like I always say, what you may think is worse or what you may think is a bad time, maybe someone out there dealing with even more harder situation, right? Or more scarier. And but again, at that time, the things that we were experiencing, it got really bad. And so my mom was like, what do we do? How can we get rid of this thing? How can we remove this energy or this whatever's here? How can we remove it? And so, you can't just call the police, especially in that time. Hey, there's a ghost, and then you're crazy, And our family sure didn't make it easy for us. They laughed at us, neighbors, everybody laughed at us. So my mom, we went to the Catholic church across the street, and my mom asked the priest there, and he said, well, unfortunately, we don't offer, any kind of cleansings or exorcisms or anything too crazy. He's like, the best I can do for you is I can give you some scriptures that you can read, and I can give you some holy water. And my mom's like, how do I even start? Like, what do I even do? What if I mess up? Or what if I do something wrong and, it backfires and gets worse? And he says, well, that's, I can't help you. And so, my mom sat me down. We walked. We didn't have a car, so we walked in. Thank God, at least that the church was across the street from the apartment complex, so we wasn't that far to walk. But we walked back to our apartment, and my mom, as we were walking, she was just crying. I mean, these big old tears were coming out of her eyes, and she was scared. I was scared, and she was like, "What am I gonna do?" Like, I mean, she was like losing hope, and she was just defeated. Right? She's like, "Man, how are we gonna do this?" And I remember the next several days. Finally, she sat me down. And she says, "Listen, I'm about to attempt to do something. Whatever you hear, whatever you see, whatever happens, don't leave. Just stay sitting here." I said, "Okay." She went upstairs to my room where it all originated from. And she, again, she had no idea how to cleanse. She had no idea even where to begin. So what she did was she got the blessed holy water, and she got a bucket of mop water, right? Because my mom always believes that when your house is clean and it's not all cluttered, it's like peace is there, like good energy. When your house is cluttered and all messed up, right? So her mindset was, well, maybe if I clean the house the way I normally do, but in this case, add some holy water to the mop water. If I get everything in order, there will be no room for negativity or energy in this house except for positivity. That was her thought. So she starts cleaning. She started from the bottom and was working her way down. That way, as she's cleansing, she can push that energy out, right? So she started in my room, and what's really strange was the closet that I had in my room, it never opened. Like, you can sit there, you can stand there, and you can yank on that knob of that door, turn it. I mean, you could pull it, and that thing will never open. Randomly, you was here. The door would just crack open by itself and just open alone without anyone touching it. And then when we would close it, it was like if it was like someone like just put some cement there and it couldn't open back up. Like, we don't know why it would do that. Anyway, so she starts with the cleansing. She has holy water in the mop bucket. She has holy water in the bottle that she has. She's reading the scriptures. She's making the sign of the cross on the windows, reading the scriptures out loud, and she starts mopping the floors. And as she's doing this, mind you, I'm sitting downstairs. Like let's say if a cold front comes in or a storm comes in, you can hear that howling sound of the wind blowing, like that. Ooh, I started hearing that outside, and I'm looking. And mind you, I'm saying that she goes, "Don't move." So I didn't move. I could hear the howling sound of the wind blowing, kicking up. And then all of a sudden, my mom, I just see her, like land at the bottom of the stairs. Like if she ran down the stairs and like, maybe like midway, just jump straight down. And she grabs me. And then all of a sudden, we heard this loud, like, I can't even replicate the sound. I wouldn't do it justice, right? What I heard. But like this loud growling sound. I mean, I can't even do it. But it was like this ugly, like, and the closest I've gotten to hearing it before recently was when my cat Boo, when we first brought Daisy to the house. When we first brought Daisy, our smaller cat, to the house, Boo was jealous because this is Boo's domain, right? This is her home, and Daisy's the outsider. Well, when I had let Daisy put her scent onto my hand, so Boo can smell it and see what kind of reaction she gave me. Boo did this growling sound that was nowhere near it, but close enough. And it was like this deep down guttural, like I thought it was a car. I thought it was like an engine outside going off, but it was freaking Boo like making this ugly guttural like growl. And it reminded me of what we heard that day. So we hear this. My mom grabs me and runs straight out of the apartment and crying, freaking out. Like her face is pale and she's like, ugh, like, you know, like stumbling over her words. And she says, we can't go back in there. And she said that, you know, when she was attempting the cleansing, that door from the closet opened up and this growl came out of it. So, you know, for those who are listening, you know, that, you know, for those who, you know, are going through similar circumstances or, you know, whatever it is you're going through and there's a cleansing that's required, you know, I wish that a form of MPS or a team, you know, could have been there at that time to help us better educate us and assist us with that situation. I think they could have been a whole better outcome. Maybe we would have never moved, but because we didn't know and we didn't know how to deal with it, our first thought was let's move to
or someone who actually knows how to cleanse,
right? Like or knows how to cleanse, right? And
either or would have worked,
right? Or and our thought was if we run from it, maybe that's the best possible scenario is running away and it not following us, and that's not how it worked. But I'll just leave it at that. It was just a pretty crazy situation.
Thank you for sharing that, Mike, because it is definitely a scary thing to have to deal with that type of thing. You know, when I first started doing this work, it took a lot of learning. And the biggest thing that helped me was actually my friend Tim Shaw. He's a awesome guy up here, very, very in tune to the metaphysical. And he said, you know, when you're going in to do this type of stuff, you have to be like 100% certain that you're the scariest thing in the room. And that took a little bit for me to like understand and kind of get in that mode that, you know,
how to tap into that.
But now that I do, you know, the thing that helped me was remembering that it's not just me going into battle when I'm doing those things, it's my ancestors too. And I've got like 3 war chiefs and a prophet. So we're good, you know.
Right.
Yeah, with me, it took 2 years with my mentor to teach me all the mystic stuff I needed to learn.
So, well, from like the metaphysical witchy stuff, I've been doing that. It's been a couple of decades at least. So, but just the actually removing negative entities from a location and being a little bit more forceful with them, that's something that had to be trained, you know, had to be learned. It's not something you just walk in and start doing. I do not, no hate on Zach Bagans. I'm not gonna like do a debate on that, but don't do the alpha slamming yourself around thing, because that's not the way to go.
Half the time they just laugh at you for doing that.
Yeah. So I mean, it makes great TV. Just don't
it depends on the entity if it wants to react. Like with me, actually, with our team, me and Ron, he actually likes doing that, but we tried 2 different methods, a good cop, bad cop kind of thing, where he goes and does tough guy stuff. Then I come in like after I do the gentle, you know, we call it, I just call it like Doc Holliday and Andy Griffin, basically. And we got, both times we tried it, we got great responses from it. Mike was there when we got that first big response at the jail. Like he fanboyed so much when he heard that AVP.
Yeah, I've not ever had to use any sort of like, you know, anything that's kind of like that. I don't know. I guess it
was just a random experiment, but it worked and it was fun.
Yeah. Being a medium, being more sensitive though, it's easier just to communicate. So I will be forceful. Like, it's not like I'm just like throw caution to the wind, like it's all fine. But if I have to be forceful, Spirit knows that I will.
Yes.
So I don't let them push me around, but I also don't go out of my way to push them around.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I would
Because
never-
you know how big
definitely
you're
wouldn't do that.
pushing.
so, but to get back to you guys, how did you guys get to be a team?
Well, for me, you know, and answer. I mean, Rob will answer put his part in, but for me, you know, my sister Jeanette, who's our co-founder, you know, when I first had the idea in my mind to want to take it to the next level and kind of create this team, you know, in my mind, I was like, you know, I'm the oldest of 7 kids, right? So, you know, 7 of us, my siblings and I, and there would have been more, but some passed away, right? But I'm big on family, right? And so I wanted to have a team that, you know, was like my family, you know, because just like in anything you pursue, when you have good people around you, right, that reflects your family, it's like that. To me, that's the best. It's the best feeling because you have people who you can rely on, depend on, who are going to be there for you. You be there for them, and whatever it is. And so I told myself I can make one of 2 choices. I can do this solo by myself, or I can have a team. And so I told my sister Jen, I was like, listen, you know, I want to make a team. She told me straight out, I'm not ready for this. I'm still trying to, you know, live my life, and I won't have no time for this. No disrespect. And I said, no, that's fine. You do you. I said, but how about this? Let me start out let me start building this. And when you're ready to come back or to do this with me, I'll have the foundation built. You can start helping me build this metaphorical house, right? Like this team. She said, okay. So I said, okay, where do I even start? I've never done this before, but I kept in mind that I wanted to have a team that reflected my family. And I've always been a person who's big into praying, right? You know, I'm always, you know, praying to God, you know, and I prayed, man. I'm not gonna lie, I prayed. Like I'm gonna be very honest, okay? Like there was a time where people came in and out of my life as far as the paranormal goes, and it got to a point where I was like, man, why do I keep meeting people who are not here to stay with me? Like, why do I keep meeting people who, you know, they come, then they're here for a little bit and they leave? You know, nothing's guaranteed, nothing is meant to last forever, but why can't I have people who come and who are truly gonna be a part of my life and be a part of my team and be my family? And like through the good and the bad, you know, no matter what it is, if it rains or it shines, I want them to be there with me. And it got, I don't know, one day I was going to work and I don't know why I got really emotional thinking about it, right? And I was driving, I was praying, and I said, God, please bless me. Like, please answer my prayers, and bring me people who are not just going to come and use me in some way. I want people who are going to come into my life who are here to stay. Like, please, you know, I don't care how long it takes, just bring them. And I'm gonna tell you this, I'm not lying to you. One by one, they came. Mm-hmm. And some end up leaving, yes. And Robert, you know, he's been here, and Ronnie and everybody else. But you know, when it happened, when I met them, I was like, holy smokes! Like I felt it in my heart. Like these are the ones who are gonna stay. These are the ones who are gonna be here for the long haul. The ones who are gonna help me build this. And sure enough, man, Robert, Seeson with us, you know, a lot of different members that we have, Adam, and I wouldn't change any of them for anything. Don't get me wrong, we don't always agree on everything. We've had our moments where we butt heads just like anybody else.
Sure.
But I love my team. I would do anything for my team because we've established that, like, they've earned their keep. You know, they've proved to me many times over and over again that they're here to stay. So I respect them and I appreciate them and I love them for it, man. But that's how NPS came along. But go ahead, Robert, you can share your part.
Mine's more simpler because there was actually at a booth where I met the team at an event.
Mm-hmm.
Because like for years I was doing, you know, lone wolf stuff, you know, since I was 14, like I said, you know, a lot of hands-on experience, books, people I met, allies I formed, you know, communities I encountered from the witch community to the vampire community, the underground paranormal network, basically. And then I was just at an event at a mall that I go help out with. I saw their team. It was a little booth, but, I got their business card. It was simple like that. And it was the same time Ronnie actually met them too.
Right.
But Mike, I think, was in the bathroom, so I missed meeting him. But I talked to Alma. I think Matt was there. And I think
And Mary Lou.
too.
It was Mary
Yeah,
Lou.
Mary Lou. Yeah. Well, I talked to those three. Anyway, I got their business card, and then, after that, I gave it some thought, like maybe I should try the teamwork thing. I can get easier answers when it comes to the spirit world. Because, like I said, I want to, everything to come out, from ghosts, Bigfoot, everything. Because my specialty was cryptozoology, that kind of stuff. So I don't know if they would say, go to a Bigfoot team or something like that. But, I had some experience with spirit stuff. Not too much, but, I did my own style of ghost hunting back then when I was lone wolfing, soloing, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, I got to talking with Mike, and then I think I talked to Jeanette afterward. But anyway, then I did the whole prospect thing. And, I just stuck with them. It's a good balance.
Yeah.
We get lots of cool stuff, and like the cases we get are intense. Sometimes they're fun. It all depends. But, I even let them know, like, I know we do ghosts, but like if the day comes when, like, say we get a call, like, say, like, I know you guys do ghosts too, but my house is haunted, but there's also this strange creature in my backyard that keeps coming out. I know that's my time to shine. So I'll be ready when that day comes.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So you're braver than I am.
I'm used to it.
Sure.
Yeah, I do a lot of outdoor stuff, so I'm used to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if I was 19 and still doing all the running and everything, maybe I'd go for some of the more physical things, but
yeah, I gotta stay in shape.
Yeah, Bigfoot is supposed to be, just ginormous, and I'm just not. So I'm not running him. So I'll leave that up to you guys to.
Yeah, monster hunters.
So, all right. So for your team, how many members do you guys have?
Oh man, we have. Let's see, I have it right here.
I lost count.
We have.
I'm kidding.
We have like the Brady Bunch. No, I'm just kidding. Let me see. Hold on, real quick. Let me have them right here. Hold on. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of us, or 12 with including Hector. We have 12 of us.
Oh.
Should we count the 100 dolls just for fun? They're like our Slimers. They help us sometimes.
Yeah, that's a good sized team. A really good sized team.
Yeah, and one thing that I get, I have a lot of respect for all my team, but Ronnie and Robert, man, like we've had moments where we have cases where there's like this like small like nook or cranny or like a basement or attic or somewhere crazy that if I get in there, it'll be harder for me to. It's hard for me to go into the place versus trying to jump out the damn thing if something happens. So Ronnie and Robert are always the volunteers to go and get into the smallest, dampest, craziest little spot.
Yeah, it's fun.
And I'm like, thank you guys, because if it wasn't for them and I had to go myself, man, I'd be like, it'll be a funny sight. But they do a lot of the and it's crazy because like, when I first started NPS, before Robert and Ronnie and everybody came along, and it was just a handful of us in the team, I was used to doing everything by myself, like as far as like set up, doing the client meetings, going out to scouting for the locations. Like it was like I was like this one-man band, you know what I mean, like doing everything by myself. And then it got to a point where I had to release the reins a little bit, like say, okay guys, let me spread the responsibilities in the different things amongst the team. And it was hard, man, because like I said, we'll be setting up and I'll be like trying to run the wires. And then one day Matt, who's our tech manager, even though he hasn't been out for a while, but Matt, who's also my sister, who's my co-founder, her husband, one day we're at an investigation, and I'm not sure Robert was there, I'm not too sure, but Matt told me, he was like, "Look, Mike, all due respect, you're the leader, man. You're the boss." He's like, "Allow us to do our job and to, for setup. And I promise you, we will knock it out quick. You don't have to do this. You are the one to be face to face with the clients and allow us to do the harder stuff, like if we have to run wires." And then when I said, "Okay, you're saying that, but I don't ever want to hear you complain that you're tired or it's too much, because I did it all by myself." And he was like, "Fine." And so now, like, I mean, the team, when we get to location, Robert, Ronnie, I mean, they are like the Flash. I mean, running wires, setting up cameras. Like, I mean, it's like, holy smokes.
We move faster,
man.
basically. No offense. We just move faster.
Yeah, no, they do. And I'm like, I'll stand out of the way. I'll talk to the client and y'all do your thing. And I look back and everything's set up. I'm like, holy smokes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like everyone is a functioning part in this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We take advantage of that too. Like me and Ron, like when we're setting up the cameras, we try to keep an ear out or an eye out to see if anything happens around us while we're setting up. It's a fun little pre-investigation we do as we're setting up.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are good, like well-rounded team too, which is nice. You don't see that too often, actually. There's a lot of teams out there that are just very disorganized. And then like there's teams like mine where it's like it's mostly me, and then when my sister is off, she can join. When my nephew is out of school, he can join, and then my husband just goes where I tell him to go. So it's mostly just me trying to get everything set up and going. But mostly now I just work at the Hinsdale house anyway, so it made things a little bit easier.
Right.
So do you guys have a favorite location that you guys like to go to? I know you guys do residentials, but do you guys also do the commercial ones too?
Oh yeah, we've done all different types of investigations. I think for me, one of my favorite ones, if it's here in San Antonio, I think my favorite one so far has been, and there's a lot of amazing ones, but to me, it's Buckhorn Saloon and Museum. I love that place. That place is, if you've never been there, just to kind of paint the picture of how it is an establishment that has a huge bar. If you walk up to the place, it has antlers all over the front of the building, because the original owner, his belief at the time was, if you were coming into town and you didn't have money to buy drink or food, he would tell you, bring me all your taxidermy stuff, whether it's antlers, bear rugs, whatever you got, you bring it to me, and in return, I'll give you food and drink. You know what I mean? And so he started, people who didn't have money came, and so now when you see the place, and Robert can vouch, he's seen it, and even Robert bought one of the items from the place. He bought a rabbit.
The jackalope head.
And that's cool.
There's antlers everywhere. You walk in there's bears, and they have like a wildlife exhibit. They have a aquatic exhibit. They even have like an oddities one, like for Ripley's Believe It or Not. They have a Texas Ranger exhibit. And so the activity
have a in there.
Oh yeah, they have. It's crazy the stuff they have in there, and on top of all that, the activity, that EVP Robert that we caught in there in the basement with that ugly voice. Holy smokes, that place to me, hands down,
the shadow that followed me and Ron when we were down there.
Right. So hands down, that's all in one place. That you will love it if you ever came down.
It sounds like it would have a lot of energy to it, just because of all the taxidermy and everything.
And on top of that, the basement originally was one of the places that was the morgue for the hospital around the corner that used to be active. It was the morgue. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's another element to it.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Robert?
For me, it's just the Donkey Lady Bridge. It's a local legend area, but that's where I got, my start when I decided to do more hands-on experience after reading the books and doing research to go, I guess, monster hunting or paranormal hunting. And, I have a very love-hate relationship with that creature, that entity. Because over the years, I still go from time to time. I know she has to recognize me because in those woods, I did all kinds of different methods to try to capture her, see her. I saw her a few times already, but after all these years, I have a feeling like, at least with me, she's kind of like a I guess kind of like a makeshift deal with the devil, give me powers and I'll get revenge on these kind of things, these people kind of situation, because like there were times I thought she was a physical being, but then she vanished, reappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's like how can I describe it in a friendly way? It's like the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote situation, or the Tom and Jerry situation. It's one of those things. I always try to get close, but I can't do it, and she knows I get frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's the one I had the most experience with. I'm always excited when I go there because it was right here in San Antonio. It's easy for me to get to. I've been going there since I was a teenager, so
yeah, it's got a good
familiarity. And now it's a park, so oh yeah, and I know my way around that area, all the woods and everything.
Yeah, that's cool. I would love to be able to check out these 2 locations. I feel like the one that Mike described, has it been on TV?
Never. That's the thing. It's never been. We were the first team back in 2012 to first investigate this place, and it has never been on TV before. And it's just one of those hidden those gems here in San Antonio, man. That I'm telling you, anybody who's listening, if you are from Texas or you're not from Texas, and you ever had the opportunity to come to San Antonio, hit up the Buckhorn. This place. I mean, you can just walk around there and just snap pictures because there's a tour. Like, you walk in there, I think
it's also educational.
It's educational too because of the history. But you can pay like a few bucks and you can do the tour, and they even have like a mock Bonnie and Clyde exhibit. They even have like a little Western town there where there's like a remember Robert the little jail cell, and I mean
you can do photo ops for the family.
Yeah, and they have actual Texas Rangers, police officers who passed away from back in the day, like all their like badges and guns, things they donate to this place, like they have it on display. And so when I was there, we were there not too long ago. I was in the Texas Ranger exhibit, and something called out to me by name, called me my name, and I was by myself in the exhibit. I mean, this place is so active. I mean, you can just go snap shots and you may capture something. That's how awesome it is.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. You guys will have to come up, see the Hinsville house, and I'll come see these locations.
Definitely.
Yeah. Just make sure if you come to the Dunkleader Bridge, don't come during the hot season. The humidity will kill you.
Oh, yeah, you'll melt.
Yeah.
The team found out that the hard way.
So do you guys have any advice for listeners regarding our mini topic from earlier or investigating?
Go ahead, Robert. You go first.
I say stick with like books. Like that helped me a lot. Used bookstores, you find a lot of hidden gems there and a lot of good research. I know you can just Google a lot of stuff now, but with the internet, you know what's fake and what's not. With books, you can actually see the authors, look up if they're legit, stuff like that. But with me, I have a whole book collection that I collected over the years of all kinds of paranormal books, and that helped me a lot. I still use them as references over going online and looking up stuff. But yeah, hidden gems and used bookstores for if you want to try to get started in paranormal. That's a fun way to start and an affordable way to get started on research.
Right. And for me, like Robert's, mentioned, just to kind of add, and one thing I'm very big on, whether it's for the topic today or for anything paranormal related or cryptid or whatever it is, knowledge is key, right? So, if there's something you want to know about and you don't have the answer, your best thing is, like Robert said, books, or you can find people local to you that are maybe seasoned in what you're looking for. And, there's some people who are willing to, provide that knowledge to you, who can talk to you and know that not everyone has the answer for everything, but it doesn't hurt to reach out and say, hey, look, I'm new to this. I just want to know. And some people are willing to answer. So, don't ever hesitate to look, to reach out to someone for help, on whatever it is you're looking for.
And that's both of what you guys have said is just very solid. I mean, I've got both. I've got a ton of books. I mean, I've got books ranging from metaphysical all the way up to Rosemary's book about ghosts and spirits. So they definitely are a wonderful tool to have, because then
and a fun collector's item.
Yeah, it's just good for reference, and it's just good. It shows that you're actually doing research. You're not just running out there just for the YouTube.
Yeah, you're not Googling it really quick. Yeah, you're doing quick Google searches and going out there.
Yeah, and then getting in touch with people in the field in this area is what really helped me get to where I'm going now. I mean, if I hadn't met Dan, I probably wouldn't be doing the show right now. So it definitely, there's people out there that will help. You are going to have the bad eggs in the field that are going to dissuade you or discourage you to going for it, but just keep trying. You'll find the right people to be
That's
with.
life.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to rise above it.
So
that's true. Yeah.
So for your guys' team, where can I find more information about you?
Well, your best bet is, of course, Facebook. You can just go to your search bar and type in Midnight Paranormal Society, and you'll see that we're here in San Antonio, Texas. That you'll find us there. We're also on YouTube. If you have TikTok, you just look up at MPS Founder Mike, and you'll see me. I have a channel there or a thing there. And what else? And we do a podcast. If you look up the page, it's called Whispers from the Unknown Network. You can see that, and you'll see when we have our shows, and not just our shows, but we have other individuals from different parts of the field who we use this platform to showcase their shows. Yeah, network. So it's pretty cool.
All right, awesome. I will also have all of that information in the bio of this episode. So in case you guys need to reference back to that, yeah, I'm so happy and thankful that I could have you guys on. I was very excited to have you guys on for this topic. Yeah, thank you guys so much.
It's always a pleasure, and we're always you're always welcome on our show. And if you ever want us to come back, we'll make the time no matter what.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining my circle tonight. It was a pleasure to discuss this spooky topic with you, and a thank you to all my listeners for tuning in. And as always, dreadful dreams. Remember, my darlings, to always be kind to those around you, including our friends with claws, fangs, and fur.